to know is that this DVD was done voluntarily by all of those people. Everyone involved gave their time, gave their everything for free. Says a lot when you're willing to do that. Right, so the whole point of this is kingdom. I love the body of Christ. If you have to tackle an issue in a country, and it's got a very wide name like human trafficking, which is very involved, very complicated, and has got all kinds of faces depending on where you come from, then you realize that God gives everyone involved a piece of the puzzle. And you get to find out how to do your piece really well and what it takes to get your piece done. And he gives you the heart for it, and he gives you the training and everything. Which is why we've got this panel of wonderful people here to give us a very full, rounded idea. We've already seen one aspect. The whole lover boy tactic that you've seen is only one little aspect of what we're talking about tonight. So we've got these people here. Have you got our lady on the phone yet? To represent all the different, from the law right through to the practicality at the airport. So that is what we're going to do. The first one we're going to talk to is Rene Hanekom. She is on the phone as soon as she answers. She is from the South African National Human Trafficking Resource Line.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, and all the people can hear you. You can't see them, but there's about 100 people, about 80 people just waiting to hear your voice.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone.
Okay, Rene, so you have got to explain to us all about this resource line that you've got. Explain it to someone who doesn't have any clue what you're talking about so that they understand exactly what the point is.
Okay, great. So let me firstly start off with why we've called it a resource line. So what makes this line unique is that it's more than a hotline. We decided to call it a resource line because it's a tool for government and civil society organizations. So it's really a tool that will bridge the gap between survivors of trafficking and the incredible services that are available to them.
Okay, why should they not rather call 10111 or Childline?
So although 10111 and Childline are incredibly important numbers and they do absolutely amazing work, they do not specialize in cases of human trafficking. The call specialists that work on the resource line have been trained on international best practice in terms of the protocols and the processes that we follow. And we've already been able to take hands with both of those lines in terms of referring callers to them and also assisting them with calls that they've received but that are maybe outside of their scope of practice. So in terms of anything to do with human trafficking, it would be great if everyone called into the resource line and we can get them to the right services.
Let's just get this nice and clear. So this is not just a line where you report something that happens, or if you've got, if you're looking around where you're living and you're seeing something happening, you actually collect data and statistics as well.
Yes, so there's different types of reasons that you could phone into the resource line. So firstly, if you see something suspicious and you would like to report it, it would be great if people phoned in, or they can also submit an online tip. Because every little bit of information helps. So if you've seen something and you have information, you don't know if someone else has maybe also phoned in about that. So every little bit of information helps us to actually build cases. But what we've also found recently since we've launched is we've been able to prevent potential trafficking situations as well. We've had people phone in if they've wanted to apply for a job opportunity that seemed too good to be true, and we've actually been able to refer that to one of our partner organizations who could investigate and had found that they were not legitimate opportunities. So it's a really great prevention tool. And then it's also there, of course, for victims to phone in if they need assistance, then we can assist with that. But then also for governments and organizations, if they need a guide on next step or steps, or if they need to be connected with services, then they can call into the line.
Have you got anything else you want to tell us about your resource line?
Yeah, so just today we actually announced that since we've launched on the 30th of August, we were actually able to assist with 5 rescues, which is absolutely phenomenal. And we wouldn't have been able to do that with the incredible partner organizations that we work with. So what I just want to tell everyone is that it's going to take all of us to promote this line and to make a success of it so that we can see more rescues take place and trafficking prevented.
Rene, what's the number?
The number is 0800 222 777.
Oh, that's easy to remember. 0800 222 777.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
It's such a pleasure, and thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to tell everyone a little bit more about the resource line. And everyone, please feel free to phone into the resource line if you have more questions and you want to find out a bit more about what we do.
Great. So that was Rene Hanekom from the South African National Human Trafficking Resource Line. Can you remember the number?
0800-222-777.
And then, Annelize Theunissen. You've worked really hard, huh? Are you tired yet?
No, this actually energizes me.
The adrenaline is rushing. Okay, so why is prevention such a crucial activity in breaking the cycle of human trafficking?
I think when it comes to prevention of human trafficking, that old saying that says prevention is better than cure rings very true in regards to human trafficking. We see that trafficking victims is abused and tortured and beaten up and all sorts of things, locked up. You saw food starvation. So the emotional scars and the physical scars is so deep and so profound that it is very, very difficult to reintegrate a human traffic victim into society again. And it takes a lot of resources, and it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and a lot of love. And if we don't prevent people from being trafficked, this cycle will actually not break.
The thing is, you're sitting here in an office, in one place, and you're one person. But you are part of the body of Christ. So you've got churches, and you've got government, and you've got youth organizations. They're all out there. So what can they do to play an active role in the whole human trafficking thing?
Yeah, I think that's where my passion is prevention and awareness. I think I've been working in this anti-trafficking environment for the last 5 years, and God has just ignited a fire for prevention in my heart and for awareness. And through a program that we call Traffic Wise, we do a 2-day seminar where we train people on how to go into the communities and raise awareness. And we teach them with all the tools that we have to our advantage. Some of these tools have literally just been given into our hands. Something like Traffic Proof is such a valuable tool. We've just traffic proofed in the last 2 months nearly 10,000 children. We just did 7,300 children in Ghana in just 1 week. So you can reach with this tool, with just a little bit of effort and dedication, a lot of people. And also trafficking involves forced labor. So we need business to get involved in this. And we need to train business so they can see that they source their products ethically. And then you've got the forced marriages. And in South Africa, we sit with a thing like a cultural use like ukutwala. And that is being abused in the rural areas. Now, if we can go and do awareness and prevention in these areas and prevent these people from actually being trafficked, I think we're going to see the numbers going down. And that's where we need to get involved: churches, youth organizations, NGOs, businesses. Everyone needs to be educated And traffic-wise, I think is a good stop. We have one, if I can market something, we have one last seminar on the 21st and 22nd of October in this very building. And you'll be fed well, and you'll be taught well for 2 days. So there is registration, sign-up papers there at our table.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Okay, well, I was shocked when you said that normal people like me and you support the trade, support human trafficking with a coffee, with the clothes that we buy, the whole thing. So how can pity at the street, us normal people, how can we help you with awareness and prevention of human trafficking?
I think the thing is, once you know something, you cannot walk away from it and say you did not know. So your choices will differ. And a lot of people are walking around in ignorance. I was just amazed at what is happening just a couple of blocks from here. I met a young lady one night here, and while we were ministering in February, and she said to me, she was a student last year, and she's just been on the street for 2 weeks, and she's now trying to earn a living to further her studies. But the reality is she will never go back to her studies, because she will get addicted to drugs. Like you see, there will be force, there will be coercion, and she will never go back to her original dream that she had. So we really need to educate ourselves, and we need to, I always use this image of the frog being in this water. How do you boil a frog? You don't put it in hot water and boil it, because the frog will jump out. And I think that is what is happening. Society is slowly heating up the water around us, and we're just ignorant about it. And we need to take a stand and educate ourselves so that we can stop making foolish choices.
Okay, I've got one question for you by Sam Robson.
Okay.
He says, would it not help if soliciting sex was made a more serious crime by law than offering sex for money? For example, the legal consequences for a John were far more serious than for a prostitute. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. You want to answer that, Diane?
Can I? Is this on? If I may, yeah. So I just want to give a quick example of what is happening in Seattle in America. They've taken that stance where they prosecute they call them the Johns or the clients, and they don't arrest the women. They assist the women and provide survivor services for them. And they have had such phenomenal results from taking this approach. They have a John school, so if guys get arrested for using the services of someone in prostitution, they have to pay $900 and go through a 10-week school that educates them on the choices that they've made. And it's been so great that they've had guys coming back voluntarily of their own free will a second time, paying that $900 again and redoing the school. And then that money actually goes back, it gets split, half goes directly back into survivor services, so helping the women come out of the lifestyle. And then the other half goes into the police and into the operations and the stings and the raids that they do. So I think it's a pretty good approach.
See, we get the experts in. Thank you very much.
To add on to that, that is what they call the Nordic Law. So offering yourself and services is not against the law, but the moment you buy the sex, that's when you actually cross the law. So the Johns buying the sex is
the illegal bit.
Is the illegal bit. What they've seen in Sweden is they do, any law is not perfect, because we're not living in heaven, we're living on earth. But what they have seen is it has made a big significance in human trafficking, because the sex trade is the biggest source for human trafficking. I think we all need to acknowledge that most of the victims are being sourced for human trafficking as the sexual exploitation. And Sweden has got the lowest number of human trafficking reports in Europe.
Okay.
So, not to say that the approach is perfect one, but it does make an impact. And actually 5 countries, I think, or 4 countries are implementing that law across the globe.
I think it's about 6 or 7 now. Yeah, in different variations. You've got to look at local context and see what's going to work within your context. But yeah, there's about 6 or 7 now.
Okay, so representing the law, we have got Advocate Adina van Deventer. Hello. So, the TIP Act is new and is being implemented how?
You see, from the NPA side, the TIP Act has not brought a lot of changes for us because already at the 2008 Sexual Offences Act, we had Section 72 that brought in trafficking in persons, and it criminalizes trafficking in persons. And we also, with the 2004 Child Act, had trafficking in children. So we already started training in terms of the main act, actually, and did prosecutions well in advance before we had the TIP Act regarding that. Myself did a case of Dos Santos in 2009 of victims of human trafficking way before there was any act involved. Advocate Gio Wasserman did a prosecution on the ranch, Andrew Phillips, way before the act was already in place. It was a bit of a squeeze, but we did it. And so with regard to that, it didn't change much because from 2008 we already had a national human trafficking task team in the country where I'm the representative of Gauteng North. Advocate Wasserman was the representative of Gauteng South, but it's now Advocate Kuleka. We have Advocate Dawn Coleman in KwaZulu-Natal. We have Advocate Zelda Swanepoel in Port Elizabeth, and Advocate Connie in Cape Town, Roger Marumi in Northwest. So all over the country, in all the DPP jurisdictions, we've got a representative of the National Task Team. And under our task team, we have the provincial task teams that involve civil society. Civil society is an active part. We meet every 2 months, 2.5 months, and we sit with civil society, the police, the NPA, and civil society sit together, and we deal with issues relating human trafficking. Civil society is more involved in the prevention per se. We are involved in the prosecution and in the dealing of that. And then between the NPA, DSD, Department of Social Services, and the police, we have what we call the Rapid Response Team. That is the team that is involved in, if a victim is found, then the police do the rescue. We have certain protocols in place where we start with interviewing. The minute that we have statements, DSD do the certification, if you read the act, that this is a victim of human trafficking. And depending if it's cross-border trafficking, we get Department of Home Affairs involved. So it's a definite, well-organized wheel that rolls.
Okay, well, can I ask you the stupid question, what is the TIP Act?
The Trafficking in Persons Act.
Okay.
Yes. Implemented 1 August 2015.
And the other government departments, are they all being trained on this at this moment?
Yes, they have been trained from 2008. Some more than others, because you must understand, it's an ongoing process to deal in the NPA. We deal in each jurisdiction, as I said. We train at least twice a year because, prosecutors come and they change. And so it's important, for us, it's important, for instance, to not just train regional court prosecutors, but to train prosecutors in the district court because they must be able to identify this matter because rapid identification, just for example, you get a child that this child must be prosecuted, even though we have diversion, but it might be a serious housebreaking. But it's a child from Mozambique. There's no parent. What is he doing here? Somebody must ask the question. And perhaps he's part of a child traffic syndicate where they break into houses, you see. So you must be very aware. So that's what we do. We do some really serious training. And then we assist also with training of police when asked. We deal mostly with the hawks, and that's why there's sort of I'm part of the Director of Public Prosecution's organised crime component, and all of us that deals with human trafficking is part of the organised crime component, because as you would have seen from the movie, it is actually organised crime. And if you look at UNODC's report, human trafficking has overtaken gun running as the second most profitable business in the world. So, and as Advocate Dawn Kalmel always says, you know, you don't need infrastructure to start a trafficking business. You need a person and you need a house. You don't need to have a business layout. And the minute that the country is compromised economically, you will see a rise in this type of crime. So it's also a social issue. It's not just a law enforcement issue, it's a social issue.
So what's the punishment for someone who's charged with human trafficking in South Africa at this moment?
Okay, the Act there's several different crimes that is created by the Act. But if we talk about Section 4, which is trafficking in person, requirement, recruitment, transportation, exploitation, then you talk about life imprisonment.
Really?
Yes.
And life is like real life. It's not that life when you come out in 4 years thing, life.
No, definitely not. It's
Okay,
real
sorry, I'm a
life.
South African. I had to make sure. Thank you very much.